this is something I wanted to make sure we talked about, and we'll just start with it right now. Back, I don't know if you guys knew this or not. Last year, I was in a gunfight with someone who was. Long story short, I won, he lost, and it was a wake up call for a lot of our officers and myself included because we all thought the department would have us, and you don't. They don't. You have to have your own legal defense, and thank God for my legal defense. I was able to have an attorney, and everything worked out. But the church teams, and this is big, if people tune in and then they end up leaving from this podcast, the one thing I want them to get is they need to have a legal defense because we can train you, ahead of time in the churches and firearms and self-defense and all this stuff. But what happens afterwards? You're going to know in that moment, you're going to do what you have to do, what you're trained to do. And when you survive that, what happens next? And that's where when we talk about going to Florida, right to bearer is the legal defense that we go with. They actually flew us down there to do some training and a seminar for a church down there. So yeah, this is a big, big deal.
So this is our New Year's special. I call it the New Year's special because it just so happens that this episode is dropping. It'll either drop tomorrow or it'll drop on New Year's Day. Normally they drop on Wednesdays, but yeah, I don't know that I'm going to get this one edited tonight.
Well, Happy New Year to everybody that's listening.
Happy New Year to you too, Cody. Thank you. So nice of you.
How were your holidays?
Christmas was fantastic.
Whatever you choose to use.
Christmas was great. The kid was super excited for Santa Claus. We really didn't do a whole lot. Wife had to work Christmas night, which has been different from the previous years where she's worked Christmas Eve. So it was kind of nice. But yeah, it was not too bad. How was yours?
Good. I got to work Christmas, but my kids are used to that anymore. So Santa Claus came on.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I said Santa Claus came on Christmas Eve, and my oldest got all her stuff over the weekend. Bought her a gaming computer that she absolutely loves, and now I'm hero dad.
Yeah, that's good. So you introduced this to me, and we're kind of getting off topic, but you introduced this to me. I think it was around the time when Keegan was born, and I was still working full-time EMS. But there's a letter, and if I remember, I'll make a little mark here. Mark clip. There's a letter that you can print off, and then you just got to kind of fill in the spaces there. But basically, it's a letter from Santa saying that, I know mom and dad or mom or whatever has to work Christmas Day. So I'm bringing your presents to you over the weekend or whatever, another day. And some mutual friends of ours, the Jet family, they did that with their kiddos.
Oh, it's
they
great.
Did it
I
the
still
weekend
use
before. You use it
still use it to
every
this
year?
day. Every year. So it actually helps. I don't know if you guys do that whole elf on the shelf thing.
Absolutely not. No.
I wish I didn't do it. But
yeah.
So the night before, wherever the elves end up, I have my kids, they deliver that letter to the elves to pass on to Santa Claus.
I would forget to move the elf, so that's kind of why we don't do that. And I'm talking really loud and he's in the other room, so I should probably calm that down. But yeah, I would forget, so that's why we don't do that. But kind of going along the theme of Christmas, we've got a guest on today. Sorry, I had a smudge on my computer and it was driving me nuts. Looked like a booger. Kind of going along the theme of Christmas, have you ever gone to, you're not really a church guy, but have you ever?
I'm not.
Okay, has she ever gone to like the midnight mass or anything like that?
No, that would require her to stay up late, and we're both really, really older than our years, and we go to bed really early, so.
First of all, she's not that old. Secondly,
No,
are
she's
ancient,
not. She's not
so
as
that
old
makes
as I am.
sense. Yeah, you're ancient. So that makes sense. I've never gone either. My wife used to go with her family all the time when she was growing up. Maybe not all the time, but she at least went a few times. I had never gone, but I grew up Catholic, and I remember being forced, quote unquote, to go to church. I mean, Catholic mass, it let's be honest, it's kind of boring for a kid. It's kind of boring for adults. It's the same thing. Stand up, kneel, sit down, stand up, kneel, sit down. But I remember, I think I might have been in college. By that point, I had already made my decision of what I wanted to do. And at that time, I wanted to be a police officer. But I think I was working at the prison by this point. And I remember sitting in there and thinking, I think there was like there was an incident that had occurred at a church around that time or something. But I remember just thinking, zoning out in the middle of mass, what would I do if somebody came in here and started attacking this place? Because we hear about it all the time, and probably not near enough, honestly. I don't think it makes the news as much as it should.
Does
But
not.
there's religious persecutions going on in other countries every day. Christians are being attacked, Catholics are being attacked, they're being murdered. It's horrendous, like it's awful. And quite honestly, I really don't care what religion it is. We shouldn't be killing people in the name of religion. Now, I mentioned this
So
earlier before we started. Obviously, the Catholics kind of started that whole thing with the Crusades period years ago, but
yeah, it's history.
we learned from it, right? We learned our lesson.
Hopefully we learn from it. I don't know. I'm not a terribly religious person in general, but believe what you want to believe. You shouldn't be, beaten, hurt, shot, killed, whatever, based off your beliefs. I mean, that goes for everything, in my opinion. We can disagree on anything, but you shouldn't. Violence should not come into that.
Well, in case anybody that's listening has ever run into that situation before where they're sitting in church and they're worried that, somebody might come in and try to attack the place, they start opening fire or whatever. We do have a special guest today. He is a police officer, but he's also started a business, and we're going to have him talk about that. But he started this business to kind of help educate churches on how to protect themselves. So let's go ahead and bring him in. We can kind of have him talk about it. We're bringing Ben Freeze here. Hey, Ben, what's
Welcome,
going
Ben.
on?
Howdy, gentlemen. Thanks for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy
New Year to you. As custom, anytime we bring a guest on, you have to say something that makes fun of Cody, because in all honesty, that's really the nature of the show. I can't call this show Bad Friends because that name's already taken. So it's the debrief, but whatever.
This one's easy. This one's easy for me.
Oh,
That is
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Clean shaven.
Cody,
I can't trust a guy like that.
This is 2 days, Cody. 2 days.
Same.
I shaved the night before I went to work last, so 3.5
No, you
days.
didn't. No, you didn't. You shaved when you made that accident situation back at the end of November. That was the last time you shaved.
Wow. Wow.
One day I will be a grown up and I will have a beard as amazing as Ben's.
I think your son will have a beard before you do.
It'll be fake, but I will have a beard as amazing as Ben's.
Nothing wrong with that. It's good to have goals.
Good life goals right there.
Yeah.
So Ben, what's going on, man? Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll get into the super interesting stuff. Not that your life isn't interesting. Take that.
I mean,
back.
like you said, I'm married. I've got kids. I got 4 kids. I don't know what I was thinking. I got 4 kids.
I've got 3. That's enough.
Yeah. 4 is good. My wife and I, we've been working since, gosh, we were, right out of high school and stuff. And I actually went to Ball State out of high school. Know if anyone's chirp. Anything?
No,
there?
but we know
Okay.
Ball State.
Yeah. So
Know where it's at. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so keep going though.
sorry to hear that. We won't talk about that. If we were going to make fun of something, I could have just brought up.
Right.
Never
Sorry
mind.
for your loss, Cody.
Yeah. Please drink up. Cheers to that. No, been an officer for 14 years now. canine handler on the SWAT team. I'm a sniper on our SWAT team, and I help do the training coordinating. And a few years ago, we found that there was really nobody in this line of work that wanted to train civilians. And you have to be careful when you just go in and say, I want to train civilians, because, there are bad apples out there, but there's bad apples anywhere. And so the best way that I found getting into as a firearms instructor was, let's start with the churches, because they're typically really good people. And so you don't really need to have that. There's still a vetting process when people come out to your gun ranges and do your trainings. But for the most part, all of our church teams have been really solid people to train and have them learn firearms and safety and the fundamental side. So yeah, we started that back in July of 23. So we've been a couple years now. And yeah, a big part of our client base are the church teams here in Fort Wayne. We've been to Florida. We go, Bluffton, all kinds of places doing this stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize you were going all over the place. That's cool.
Yeah. And that I have to give a plug here, right to bear. This is something I wanted to make sure we talked about, and we'll just start with it right now. Back, I don't know if you guys knew this or not. Last year, I was in a gunfight with someone who was, long story short, I won, he lost, and it was a wake up call for a lot of our officers and myself included, because we all thought the department would have us, and they don't. You have to have your own legal defense, and thank God for my legal defense. I was able to have an attorney, and everything worked out. But the church teams, and this is big, if people tune in and then they end up leaving from this podcast, the one thing I want them to get is they need to have a legal defense, because we can train you, ahead of time in the churches and firearms and self-defense and all this stuff. But what happens afterwards? You're going to know in that moment, you're going to do what you have to do, what you're trained to do. And when you survive that, what happens next? And that's where when we talk about going to Florida, right to bear is the legal defense that we go with. They actually flew us down there to do some training and a seminar for a church down there. Yeah, this is a big deal.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we had a discussion. I don't even remember who it was with. Oh, I think it was with Jason White. Or Jason White's been on this show several times. He's from the TV show The First 48. He's the detective out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Great friend of ours, great friend of mine. But that was a discussion that we had, is that, I'm all for people carrying. I carry, Cody carries, like that's our right to do so. And we should be doing that, if competent people should be doing that. But what nobody talks to you about, except for now, is nobody prepares you for what is going to happen from a legal standpoint if you have to use your firearm in self-defense for any reason. And I think that's something that is a real eye-opener for a lot of people, specifically civilians, but obviously law enforcement as well. Like, we love to think in the fire service and public safety in general, we love to think that if something happens and we were doing something in good faith to try to protect ourselves, our patients, our coworkers, the public, whatever, that our agency or our department's going to be there to back us up. It's not always the case. I mean, we've seen that in national news situations. We've seen it across the country, and it's not always the case.
Well, and one thing with the churches, and this is a big part of what we try to get through to civilians, is as police officers, we're indemnified on good faith, meaning you have legal protection in the state of Indiana, that as long as you're acting in good faith, you do have some protections. Safety teams, volunteers at churches, greeters, ushers, people trying to good people doing what they believe they should do, they're not indemnified in acting even when they are in good faith. And that's where, if we're going to talk church safety, right there with it, you have to have a legal defense, because I want to empower. That's what our business does. It empowers civilians to act, to do something. And I think I've seen it. It helps knowing that I'm legally protected by a group of attorneys that are amazing, the best in the nation, so that if I do have to go hands-on with somebody, which it happens occasionally, and even more rarely if I have to use force, like lethal force, you want to have that backup afterwards.
Ben, what's your opinion on some of the concealed carry insurances out there that say that they they provide legal defense in the instance that you have to use your concealed carry firearm in a self-defense situation.
I'm not going to talk bad about any company out there that does it because I think in the end, they want to empower citizens to carry, which is their Second Amendment right. There are some that are better than others, and my concern is the cost. A lot of times, you end up seeing they're $500, $600, $700 for a year to carry a gun, and you might be getting some legal representation, and that's where, for my business, we wound up looking around. We checked with all the leading places because I was like you. After my shooting, the church teams asked me. They said, "Well, you had the FOP," which thank God for Mitch McKinney and helping me get that because without that, I'd be in financial ruins just for doing a job that I had to do. But yeah, I just think I don't know where I was going. I forgot where I was going on that one. Sorry.
That's all right. Mitch is a good dude, though. I know him.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, but yeah, sorry. Go on.
No, I kind of get where Cody, and I'm glad Cody asked that question because I don't know how to ask that question without calling out the company name, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to. I don't want to talk negative about any company because I don't really understand any of this myself either. I know. So I guess I'll ask you this. So the company that you went with for legal representation was Bear Arms. Is that what you said?
It's Right to Bear.
Right to Bear. So can any Joe Schmo civilian have them as their legal side?
Yeah. So a little backstory on them. And this is where I was going before. We wound up calling all of these major law firms, and it took a while to get through to anyone. Now with Right to Bear, we got through to their head of worship team because these church members were asking us, who do we use? And the head of their worship team, his name's Johnny Strickland, good man, called me up. We talked about everything that went on. And he said, hey, we actually do houses of worship. We do regular citizens, anybody. It was within 2 or 3 days of calling him, the president of Right to Bear called me. Frank is his name. And within another day after that, the vice president called me and said, hey, we see what you're doing with churches. It's on Christmas Eve, or Christmas morning, they send me texts. Hey, Ben, Merry Christmas. You're not getting that with these other big firms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's $200 a year versus 600, 700, 800. And then next year it's going to go higher. If I'm going to have my church teams, my greeters, my ushers, my volunteers, all my people, citizens, firemen, police, if you're going to be empowered to defend and protect out of love for your people, you need to be protected afterwards in court. And this is a mountain that I try to shout as loud as I can on top so everyone hears it because everybody needs it. It's like
this is a pro dog podcast, so we are 100% on board with that.
Look at the puppy.
All right, go lay down. Go do something. I don't know what his deal is. I thought I had the door shut.
Likes to be on
It's
camera.
perfectly fine. You might see one of my kids running here, honestly.
Cool. Yeah.
Or his wife.
Yeah. There's that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, you were getting at you wouldn't drive a car without insurance. I'm assuming same
It's
thing.
the same thing.
Gun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do believe in the insurance to have it. Now, you want to be careful that you're not like pigeonholing yourself into a one-trick pony with insurance and legal defense. What's nice about Right to Bear is it's self-defense. You got to shove somebody, pepper spray them, use a car. I don't know. It's not just for carrying a gun; it's for all this stuff. So,
and they cover all 50 states.
It's more than just a concealed carry. I've used my firearm in a defensive situation. It's more of a self-defense insurance. Then is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
All of our safety team that we train, we wind up signing them up for it. It's individual. It's not per the team. So, and there is a discount through us, which is nice because they all branched away from a very big legal defense. My dog's going crazy here. Go on. They branched away from a big law firm because they wanted to have the house of worship, which a lot of places don't cover specifically, and they do. Yeah, that's a big part. If you get nothing else from this podcast tonight, get that.
So they cover individual, but do they cover the churches as well? Like, so obviously, if you're involved, if your church is training you to carry, and how to do self-defense inside the church, then there's obviously that liability that somebody could come after the church as well.
So most of our churches have Brotherhood Mutual. We love them. And so that's a policy, and there's all kinds of extras you can get as a church, like as an umbrella policy. When it comes down to it and something happens, our experience has been you need an attorney yourself. And the church is looking out for the church as they should. You're the one pressing the trigger, you're the one doing whatever you have to do. You're going to want to have that for specifically yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. So let's talk about how you got into police work, and please explain why it was because the firefighter test was too difficult.
No, it was because I couldn't grow a beard because of the masks you all have to wear.
You know, you make that joke. I've been playing a video game called Police Simulator all day.
Seriously.
Yeah, he really has. We were talking before this interview, and that's what he told me. He's been playing that game all day.
That's awesome. Well,
Me,
I'll be
I'm
honest.
addicted to Assassin's Creed Odyssey for whatever reason right now. I like that Greek mythology
Yeah,
type
that's cool.
era, and it's addicting. I can't help it.
Segue.
Nothing wrong with that. No. Battlefield 6 here. But no,
Yeah.
my dad, Ken Freeze, which he's running for sheriff again.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that.
You-
I want to talk about
Okay,
that.
good. You know, I grew up with law enforcement. I was a cadet at 16. Like he brought that back. He was a cadet and then he brought it back. So that was cool. And really before that, though, it was August 15th of 97. And back then, Dad was the commander of the SWAT team. And I woke up that morning, August 15th of 97, and my living room was full of SWAT guys. And they were all in a big circle and their wives were there. And it was not, I was 8 years old. And that tells you how old I am, 36. But
I got you by a
Cup.
year.
Okay, so hey, we're old guys, man.
All around the same age.
So it's kind of hard to talk about, but Dad talked because I said, Where's Eric? We're missing Eric Heck." And Dad said, "Well, there's good guys, and there's bad guys, and sometimes evil wins. And last night, Eric didn't let evil win. He killed the guy who killed him." That had an impact on me. Oof. I mean, I couldn't watch. Dad worked third shift as a road sergeant. I couldn't go to bed until I saw his taillights disappear. And that was like, as an 8-year-old kid, you got to go to bed. But I was up till 9:30, 9:45 until I saw those taillights leave. And Dad didn't want me to be an officer. He said, "Be a fireman, be a real hero." No, he really did. I didn't listen.
I can see that. I could see that.
Yeah. So wound up, I had a passion for it, and that was the catalyst for me where I decided I have to do, because Eric was a hero. He was in a gunfight with a guy stepping in front of rounds to protect one of his other officers, and he took the guy out that got him. That's a hero. And I don't know who
Absolutely.
else to measure up to than him. And I get a lot of people asking, "Are you got a problem being in your dad's shadow?" And I tell them, what better shadow to be in, you know? So
Mhm.
I'm in it. I'm in it for the
Yeah.
long haul.
I remember that time when that happened with Eric, and it was wild because we hadn't had anything like that happen, and at least from what I could remember in the Fort Wayne area, probably since the 80s, like early 80s, I think, something like that. It was actually the I think the line of duty death that happened before that was a Fort Wayne officer, and I think he died in training or something. But regardless, I remember that time as well, and that was tough. So you got on the police department. Did you start in the jail?
So yeah, when I started in, was 11, we had to work the jail as sworn officers. So I
Yeah.
worked the blocks as an officer for about a year. Then I went to the courts. I guess I should back up. I was at the academy. I graduated honor graduate. That was something I always wanted. And it's just, you have to get 95% or higher on all your test averages, or you got to do more push-ups and running. And I always wanted to be, the tip of the spear is what Dad calls it. I didn't want to be following behind. I wanted to lead it. And so started with that. I'm kind of proud of that. There's not a lot of people that get honor grad. And then I knew I wanted to do SWAT and K9 and work the road. I'm doing all three of those right now.
Awesome. The academy, that was at ILEA in Plainfield, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think Allen County, probably some of the other counties, but at least in this area, it's just the county and the state because the city does their own academy. I don't know how they do that, but they do. Someday I'll get a city officer on here and I can ask him some of those questions.
Yeah. That'd be a good one.
So you got onto the department, you get on to patrol, you're on SWAT, you're K9. How's life looking for you?
I still love my job. And
How long have you been doing it?
14 years. I'll be there. Here's the thing. And I knew it was going to come up, and I'll just talk about it. December last year, when I went through what I had to go through with that situation, it changes you. I mean, it changes you because you end up kind of just feeling like an outcast from all your previous groups you had. Like, I remember that I went to church after that, sitting in there, and I'm looking around. I just felt alone, and it was weird. Like, I had my own experience. I did something I didn't want to ever have to do. I don't know, like that changed a lot for me, but I find positives out of it because I want others to learn from what I went through. And the legal defense side is huge for me because that was like you said, August 15th was our last shooting where an officer took someone's life. That was 20 something years prior to mine. And I was the next one up. And it's like, it changed my perspective on a lot of things, and it makes you, I don't know, it just changes you. It does.
How did you get past that from a mental standpoint?
Well, here's what's weird about it is afterwards, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Like, you tell yourself you're good. And then 3 months later, you have kind of a moment where you go, "Why was I just a jerk right there? Like, what's going on?" Well, then another 3 months go by, and then you're able to look back again and go, I truly thought I was good 3 months ago, but I had a cloud over my head." And then you end up doing the year of comes around, and you just have all these things that I don't know that you ever really just past it. You just kind of grow with it.
Yeah, I obviously cannot. I obviously have never been in your situation before, but I think just about every field within the first responder community has some kind of moment like that where something happens completely out of their control, right? It's something that is a part of the job, and it makes them feel like an outcast, And I think things like PTSD and all that kind of stuff doesn't help because we're telling ourselves in our brain that you're different now. You're, whatever. Nobody looks at you the same or whatever the case may be. And in all reality, I think today we're in a better spot as first responders because there are people that are able to recognize coworkers, friends, whatever, that are able to recognize when things are different, and they're stepping in quicker to try to help, which I think is amazing. I know a lot of departments, I know your department is one of them that has started doing these, what's the word I'm looking for?
Peer support.
I think a lot of the agencies and departments here in town and really in the state of Indiana does a really good job of not just checking that box, but they're actually educating the people on the department. The people feel comfortable going to members of the peer support team and having those conversations. And there's not any retribution for it. That's the one thing that's big in the police services. Police officers are afraid to say something when something's bothering them because they don't want to get treated like
I
they
thought even
just
just in
got
the
in
police
trouble.
service, though.
But it's a little different in the police service because when somebody gets in trouble, they turn in their gun and their badge and they're on suspension for a few days, a week, couple weeks, or whatever. And we've had officers on here before that have shared this where they were afraid to say something because, they saw somebody go in and say they were having problems mentally and they had to turn in their gun and now they're being treated like they just got in trouble. And then it's not helping them mentally, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, you've talked with Ingrid Harriet. I'm pretty sure here.
I haven't on this
You
show. I
need
would love
okay.
to.
We need to get her on because
Yeah.
she she's been a when you say the department, no, no, no. I'll measure my words carefully here. Ingrid, though, she has been a big help to not just me, not just we've had 4 shootings in this last year in our department, but she's been a big help to guys on bad car wrecks, really getting the team where it is. That's on her shoulders, and I can't say you got to have her out and talk because she's good people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to have her
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
I love going on calls with her. She was always a hoot. She was always
yeah.
fun to
She's a
run
hoot.
calls on.
Yeah, she is. She's great.
What you got, Cody? You got something? Since we're still
So
on the mental
going
health
back,
topic, or do you want to move on to something else?
we can move on from the mental health aspect
I'm
of it.
perfectly fine with that.
Going back to Ben, what your business does. What does the process look like when somebody calls you and says, "Hey, we want you to help us work on uh, concealed carry stuff, self defense at a church or anywhere?" What does that process look like for your company?
Yeah, usually it starts with you meet them somewhere at a coffee shop or a lunch or whatever, and they want to make sure because a lot of these companies that end up doing the training that we're doing, they're either former military people or people that were thinking they should have been in the military and they wear their boots up to their knees and they're wearing combat fatigues and the here's the thing, my dog's back here going crazy. The part of this that we do differently is you try to meet people at a basic level and go from there. So the first thing I want to do is just see where's our skill sets at, what are our goals, what are we comfortable with. There's some churches they don't want to have firearms, and I tell them you have to be careful advertising that because our nation's enemies will love to know. Okay, that church that's a soft target. They don't like guns here. Versus the other churches where we're doing blank gunfire, active threat trainings you end up meeting whatever client, usually a church lead or someone on the safety team or even officers, EMS, anyone, fire guys that kind of hear about us will ask us like, "Hey, do you do this church?" And most of the time we tell them, "Yeah, we have trained your church here in Fort Wayne. That's we have most of them." But it starts with you got to find what their goals are, what they're comfortable with, and at the same time as a business, I don't want to just come into a church and say, "You guys don't like guns? Cool, I'll train you this way." We have to be realistic. And there's a lot of eye opening that happens for churches that are, like you said earlier, like don't want violence. I get it. We're a place for the weary. We need to be welcoming. We're a church, but we also have to make sure that our people are safe. None of these mission programs, none of this stuff happens if our sanctuaries aren't protected. And a lot of times that's with our training.
I'm really glad you brought that up because it's always irked me when I go to stores or whatever and you see the big sign on there that says no guns. And it's like, you
Yeah,
realize
that
how
can,
much of a target you're making yourself. The only people that you're keeping from bringing guns in are the law abiding citizens. They're the only ones, the ones that want to follow the rules and don't want to make anybody mad or angry or anything. They're the only ones. Bad guys still going to bring crap in. Look at Europe. They banned guns entirely, and how many knife incidents do they have? And they still have shootings and crap happen all the time. Like, it doesn't
Well,
work.
look at the incident in Australia just a couple weeks ago.
but
I don't
yeah,
think
You
I'm
know,
I
familiar
was
with that one.
impressed. Oh, I was impressed. It's this pair of idiots went and shooting unarmed people on in a beach. The part that I was impressed is the media actually jumped on the guy who wound up intervening, and then the lady ends up going to assist. This is a big part of our trainings is if you're in psychology field, which I actually have a master's in psychology, and one of the things that you study is the bystander effect. And in a church, you got some of these churches have 500 people, some have 75 on a Sunday, whatever it is. You have the majority of people sitting in their pews, looking forward, listening to the message, doing the right thing. You have some wacko come up and do something. The bystander effect is in full effect because how many Sundays have we been coming in here with 75 of us, maybe 500 of us, and nothing ever happens besides maybe a medical emergency? You need to do something. And that's where we try to empower our safety team people. And that safety team isn't just people carrying guns, it's your ushers, it's your 85-year-old grandmas that have been there every Sunday for the last 40 years that know that's right. That's not right. This person seems kind of weird. That's safety starts with that. And we were down in Florida at that Right to Bear conference, a church safety seminar. one of the best things that we got out of it was the word hospitality. If you have greeters and ushers out front and parking lot attendants and you meet everyone with a smile and a handshake and morning, how are you? And then that one person comes around and they don't, and they're wearing a backpack and you don't recognize them, that's your first layer of safety and security. So it's about when we meet with clients, it's not just about firearms training, and that's a big part of it. I think above all else, police need to be shooters. I pride myself in shooting. That's why I've got the Mantis stuff back here. We're dealers for them because when I'm not at the gun range, I'm in my living room practicing. But there's also a lot more to it than just pressing a trigger.
Unpaid plug, Mantis is amazing. I have it too.
Aren't they great?
Feel left
My
out.
kids
I
love.
feel like I need to get one now.
Yeah, we'll hook you up. I got you. I got you.
Sweet. But you brought up a good point though, because as humans, we tend to we get in this situation where we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And a lot of times that's not necessarily bad. Build a routine. If it's a healthy routine, you stick with it, whatever. But there was a TV show. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was I think it was called What Would You Do? Where they had cameras set up and they would stage a situation in like a restaurant or, the mall or whatever. There would be like two actors. There'd be this, we'll say this one guy is yelling at this lady in front of everybody, and it's to see what the general public would do and how they would react in that situation and if they would step in. A lot of times people would look over and they'd give that weird look, and but then they just keep going on because it didn't affect them. It wasn't their issue to worry about. But every once in a while you'd get somebody that would step in and would do something. And I think as first responders, I think we do a really good job at most of us at paying attention to what's going on around us. I've talked about this several times, but when my family and I go out to a restaurant, I'm sitting at the seat that's facing the door. I know where the door is. I see people coming in. I know where my emergency exits are. I know where fire extinguisher is if it's visible. I know all that stuff. Call me paranoid, whatever. But I even check the table to see if I can flip the table. I check all those things because I've been in situations before. I've been at the mall here in town with my kid where we're in the middle of the food court and an active shooter starts. Like, you never know when you're going to be in that situation, and you certainly don't know how you're going to react until you are in that situation. So you got to kind of prepare yourself.
Wow. I
I was
So
was at
actually
those
in
you're
active shootings too. That's crazy that you were there.
yeah, it was
I was
so
actually in
my
Barnes
wife
and
was
Noble when one happened too. So
my wife was getting her hair done because she decided she wanted to go to Penny's and get her hair done instead of going to her cousin who does hair. It was a last minute thing, whatever. So we decided my kid and we were going to go to the food court, get some Chick-fil-A, no plug, and we were going to go play. We were going to go play in the arcade. So we did all that, and I'm watching. There's a lot of kids walking around, like teenagers, early 20s, walking around, watching. We get out of the arcade, and literally 30 seconds after we walked out of that food court, everybody's running and screaming. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, they're shooting, they're shooting. I'm like, fantastic. So picked my kid up, who at the time was, I think that was 2 years ago. So he would have been
Yeah.
5. Picked him up, ran into the hair salon part of JC Penney's. Of course, they're all sitting there getting their hair done. They have no idea what's going on. And in fact, one of the employees is laughing at me because I look serious, like I'm looking for my wife. And she goes, "Sir," as she's laughing, "is there something I can help you with?" I said, "I need my wife." And Beth stood up. She's like, "I'm right here. What's going on?" I said, "We got to go. They're shooting." Oh, it wasn't so funny now. She wasn't laughing
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So everybody starts taking off and we get out of there. But wild,
So
wild
I
situation.
refuse to go to that mall anymore because not necessarily as big or as I wasn't just in the food court when it occurred. I had actually my wife was at work. This was before my youngest was born. I had my middle child and she wanted to go do something. She loves going to the bookstore, buying books, looking at books.
Same.
She wanted to go to the bookstore. We're sitting there looking at books. I'm on my phone, and all of a sudden she points out and, I'm a firefighter, so obviously my kids love police officers. She points, Daddy, it's a police officer. And I look up and it's 3 city officers coming through Barnes and Nobles with their ARs raised. And I was like, crap,
Yeah.
sweetie, we need to go. And I may or may not have been following the firearms not allowed policy.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. It goes back to what we said earlier. That stupid sign, it only keeps the law abiding people out. It only keeps the people out that aren't, I hate to say this, but aren't smart enough to understand that criminals aren't going to listen to those stupid signs. They don't care. If they have an agenda, they're going to follow out their agenda. So I agree with you.
If I can conceal it good enough, nobody even knows.
There you go.
Right. But I agree with you. One, I'm never going to them all again. But two, if I do, I'm not going in there without carrying. Like, I can tell you that right now. So back to your business, Ben. Do you do training for individuals? Like, if Cody calls you up and says, "Hey, Ben, I suck with my handgun. I really need some help." Do you do stuff like that too?
Just to clarify, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, we do individuals, we do ladies' nights, we do kids shoot, like all the father, son, mom, daughter. I mean, we do it all, man. And what's cool about the private lessons, again, a lot of guys want to wow you with the YouTube videos and all the fun cinematic stuff, where really what saved my life and the officers next to me in my situation were basic fundamentals. Nothing fancy, nothing high speed, just get the basics down. And that's where most of our clients need the most. I mean, that everybody needs work there. And I don't know, like you can get all fancy and do all the shot timer stuff, but really if you can get the fundamentals, the individual lessons are really good for that.
I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I've been shooting. I went shooting with a buddy of mine. He invited me to go skeet shooting. And I thought, yeah, I'll go shoot a shotgun. I love shooting shotguns. I live out in the country. We'll throw a clay pigeon out, shoot it, whatever. No, there's rules involved with skeet shooting that I was not aware about. Yeah, I almost brought my rifle barreled shotgun because I haven't shot it yet. Yeah, that would have been real bad. Would have been real bad. And I told him too. I got there and I was like, man, I almost brought my rifle barrel because I haven't shot it. And he goes, thank God you didn't bring that. I said,
Yeah.
You got to tell me this stuff. I'm country boy. I don't do these competition crap shoots, whatever they are.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done law enforcement agencies. We've had military guys out here. We've done, I mean, with a precision rifle class, that's a good one. We do every summer. Bolt guns, DMRs, all kinds of the fun stuff. I mean, we do the high speed stuff. I mean, we'll go on shot timers and run with the best of them, but most of it is just the basics, the fundamentals. And what I really like doing is showing people that are hesitant that they go, I'm not into guns. Well, just come out here. Let's look at it and we'll change your mind.
You're not into guns yet.
Yet.
It's always the yet.
I'm not going to sit here and claim I'm a firearms expert by any means, but I think you touched on something, as far as the basics and the fundamentals when it comes to just defensive shooting, concealed carry in general. That's what you're going to remember in a high stress situation. It's going to be those basics. It's going to be those fundamentals. So if you can practice that, you can get that down. That's what you're going to remember. Okay. I got 5 shots on target in under a second. Not that that's a realistic time frame, but that doesn't matter. If you're into competition stuff, probably matters, but concealed carry, defensive shooting, self-defense type of stuff like that. I think fundamentals and the basics are, you hit that nail on the head, we'll say.
This isn't the Wild West. Nobody's out there shooting revolvers by hitting the hammer with their hand anymore.
That's fun to do though.
It's fun.
If you've never done it.
Well, you're not wrong. Time. I would like to have a revolver. I don't have one. That's on my list of things to get someday.
We need a range day. We'll do a range day.
Yes. I have needed one for a long time.
Let's do it.
I've got an AR that needs shooting. I've got a rifle barreled shotgun that still needs shot. And then, of course, my other pistols that need some work too. Yeah, I'm down. So, Ben, what else are we missing? What else should we be talking about that we haven't talked about?
The big one, by the time they get this, it's going to be a new year. The foundation we have, it's a nonprofit. So we have our Freeze Consulting side, and then we have the Freeze Foundation side. And the Freeze Foundation side, that's for the donations. It's a 501c3. It's a nonprofit, and that's for our church teams. As an example, and how we got hooked up with Mantis, we wound up with the foundation donations, bought a whole bunch of their trainer laser pistols. The Mantis rep said, "Hey, we looked you up. We saw you down at the Indy SWAT officer show. I remember talking to you about Mantis." I'm like, "Yeah, I remember you." Wound up making us a dealer for them. But that can't happen without our foundation. So the foundation, there was all donations that we get. That's a big deal for training churches, equipping them. The last year we had donations for ammo so that church teams could come out and they didn't have to spend money on ammo. And that's a big deal. If you can get a whole 30 team group of people out there shooting thousands of rounds of ammo every year, that's big to have that without no shipping, no taxes. It's all partitioned from Freeze Consulting's here, the foundation's this side with the church side. So that's a big part of this. I can't say it enough. It's called the Freeze Foundation. Looks like fries, but it's like my name down there at the bottom. But yeah, that's a big one.
So if people wanted to help your foundation out by donating, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, you can, well, on our Instagram and social media, you look us up, we have links to it, but it's on our website, it's freezefoundation.org. Make sure that's right. Yeah. I got so many websites and things, but it's freezefoundation.org. You can donate there, and the best way to do it's probably through social media. If you guys are on Facebook or Instagram, we get a ton of traffic through that, and the links are right up top there. And it's a tax write-off. Granted, it's going to be a new year. Trump's big, beautiful bill. That's part of, you get a good tax return when you end up donating to that. And it goes to the churches. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Cody, you got anything else you want to ask?
No, surprisingly. I've got notes of various things to research on my own accord when we get done. But outside of that, Ben, sounds like you're doing good. You're helping people defend themselves. Sounds like in an appropriate way, get training, and no, you're doing good, man.
Thank you.
We do have one more thing that I forgot to talk about. Got to talk about your dad running for sheriff again.
Yes.
What made him decide to do that?
Again, I'll measure my words carefully.
Sure.
Dad he's always loved our department ever since and the only reason he left was because of term limits. And you can only serve 4 years, get reelected, do 4 years, and you have to be done. And this year coming up, so May 2026, I have to go out there and vote for him. He's eligible to be our sheriff again. So he's coming back. There were some events, obviously, in this last year that have happened where things can be handled better. He's going to change that. The officers want him. A lot of our people are all about that. And again, I have to be measured on my words here, but there needs to be some change.
Yeah.
I just lost my audio.
No, I think it's safe to say that, and I don't have anything bad to say about anybody, especially the current people in charge. I don't have anything bad to say about them. But I think it is safe to say that when your dad was the sheriff, he was not only loved by the officers that were underneath him, but he was loved by the community as well. He did a lot of great things for the community. And I mean, he's been doing amazing things even after he stepped away. He's always kept his face in there.
One of the things that keeps coming up is we don't want you to leave Crime Stoppers. Well, He's not going to leave Crime Stoppers until he finds someone like Ken Freeze. He's not going to, the county council, we're going to make sure there's people out there that can fill his big shoes that he's leaving. And
I was going to say, that's going to be tough.
When you said community, that's big for Dad. And it's not just a talking point. He wants to bring the cadets back, which is where I started, which is where he started. You get your best officers when they're 16, 17. I mean, we're kids. We're growing up. The reserve program has been decimated. He's bringing that back. The Citizens Academy, everything in my church trainings that we're doing, he's helping with that. the gun range, he comes out and helps. He is a citizen, a county resident's best bet. And he genuinely wants to be back, which is really powerful to be still working here and have him coming back.
Well, I'll say this. I could not tell you who the sheriff was before Ken because he made such an impact. Somebody at that time, I was just Joe Schmo. Like I wasn't in public safety. I wasn't doing anything at that time. But I knew who he was. I knew his name. He was everywhere. I couldn't tell you who the sheriff was before that. So that's how much of an impact he's made just in that sense in the community.
I think he's genuine, and when you're in the room with someone genuine and you can talk to them, you can feel that, and it's a very real thing. And that's I go back to the beginning. You're in your dad's shadow. What's that like? I can't think of a better shadow to be standing in. I truly can't. And I know a lot of our officers who worked with him before know that he's going to be great. I'm excited.
Talked to a few. I won't name any names, but I've talked to a few, and they are pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think one of the big things before I lost my audio that I was actually able to hear when you said that, the guys on the department want him, that says to me, that's a good leader. That's good leadership when the people that were under you before, or even maybe the people that have never had the opportunity to work under him, and they're the ones that want him back. That's big to me, which, may sway where my vote goes. If the guys that are going to be under him if that's who they want, that to me, that's a big plus.
Yeah. Well, and that's Dad, when he was sheriff and getting up to the ranks and running and all the stuff we did, he worked the roads. He had a canine. He was SWAT commander. All these SWAT call outs that we're having, he would have been there on them, checking in on officers after they've been in these critical incidents. He did that where my situation was my situation, and I'll say good things because Ingrid helped a lot. And again, I got to be careful what I say on here, and I don't want to smear mud because that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to. That's not. It's a job ultimately, but really it's a calling. And to smear someone's name for anything I don't agree with that.
Yeah, totally agree.
100%.
I will say I think it was when the Waterloo officer got shot in the line of duty. This would have been ish time frame, 2011. I think it was Waterloo. But I think your dad was there too.
Or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had responded to a domestic, but I think when he came into the hospital, because I was working at the hospital that time, I'm pretty sure your dad showed up there too. And those are two totally different counties, but he was still there.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't matter.
And that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes on leadership in general, not just in the police department. And again, not attacking anybody. And I'm sure somebody will take what I'm saying too literal, but that speaks volumes on leadership because I don't know too many leaders. I do know a few. I don't know too many leaders, though, that would go to the hospital to visit somebody that got hurt in the line of duty when they're not on their department or their agency. And that's phenomenal. That's awesome.
Well, and the last piece I'll leave you with is checking in on officers' wives. I couldn't do what I'm doing without Mallory. I couldn't. And the way, if you don't end up checking in on our wives, people are going to hear about that. And that's something I'll never forget with what happened for me. How do you not call my wife and ask her or send her a letter, an email, a text, something? There was nothing. And that's something I don't know that I can forgive. I'll do my best. I'll never forget it. Even to this day, it's January or what? It'll be January 1st when this airs, and there's still silence. And that being ignored and being silenced, it's gross. And
that's too bad.
Well, the public safety wives are the unsung heroes of public safety.
Absolutely are.
Yeah, you guys just gave me an idea. We'll talk about it after this. But Ben, we're going to wrap this up. I always ask my guests to leave us with some kind of words of wisdom, anything that you feel like people need to hear.
Drop a nugget of wisdom, Ben.
I think a lot of this comes, what we do, it's going to sound hokey. It comes from love, and it's the exact opposite of what evil is. Colonel Grossman says it in all of his sermons with the sheepdog seminar, and I'm going to just parrot what he says because how can you say it better? That love will win over evil, and that's what we're doing. It's the
Couldn't have said it
opposite.
better. Cody, any
Good
final
quote's
words?
a good quote. No, Ben. Thank you for being here. Thank you for telling us about what your company does. Thank you for telling us about your foundation that assists with church safety teams as far as training and equipping them. You're doing good work out there, man.
Thanks, Cody.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks a lot, Ben. Greatly appreciate you jumping on here with us for our massive following of audience on this show.
Hey, let's
Gotta
build it
be
up, man.
It's got to be the biggest podcast on Apple and Spotify at this point.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
It by far it has to be the biggest one in Fort Wayne.
That's an accomplishment. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we'll pause on that. But Ben, definitely appreciate you. We'll have to get you back on again because you did great making fun of Cody, and I'm all about that. So
maybe he'll have a nice beard a mustache, maybe something.
No.
I don't know why he doesn't just grow a mustache.
No, it took me almost 30 days to look like I, hadn't just forgotten to shave.
Till you screwed it up. Jeez.
It was
Awesome.
itchy anyway.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.